All right. Good morning, Bethel business students. Welcome to 2020 Project X. And as you probably remember, Project X is about exploration, experience, and execution. This year for 2020, we do not have our normal Project X experience. For those of you who are not freshmen, you remember us all being able to gather in the Great Hall and then go out to our separate breakout groups in order to gauge in the different topics that are of interest to you. But this year, we've got a different plan. We're going to go ahead and have a keynote speaker online. And we're going to have digital breakout groups. So after this digital session, we're going to invite you to attend one of the 11 breakout sessions, which should be somewhere along this webpage here. And we encourage you to attend a session that is appropriate to where you are in school, right? So if you are a senior, we would encourage you to go to the how to spend your first paycheck. And if you're a freshman, we've got some things designed specifically for you. And each year, as you go through Project X, you have an opportunity to go through a different breakout group. However, different this year is that we are going to be recording all of our breakout sessions. So if you can attend one of the ones that you're interested in live, but you want to see something else, we're going to have those recordings for you. So we're going to be able to save all of those. You can go back and watch those. So let's get started. Today, our keynote speaker is President Ross Allen. Ross, thank you for being here today.
Hey, it's a privilege. Look forward to it.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. If I've seen you around the hallways. How do you want students to address you? Is it President Allen? Is it Ross? Of course, faculty members, we are required to sort of bow deeply at the waist and refer to you as Your Eminence. But how do you want a student to say hi to you?
You know, I'm so used to Ross that's most comfortable. Although I'm flexible with whatever anybody's comfortable with. It's fun to hear students yell, "Hey, President Allen," or whatever they get. But however, if somebody wants to get my attention, I am flexible. I'm generally used to first name basis.
Good. So you heard it here. Ross, say hi. He wants to hear from you guys. So let's get into this, Ross. I want to tell you a quick funny story here. I teach one of my classes in the Lakeside Center, and on it was Wednesday. Last Wednesday, I was in my classroom and I had my students kind of doing a little quiz, a little test, and next door I heard this huge amounts of laughing and tomfoolery and shenanigans. There's all these students making noise. So I was going to go out there and I was going to run across to the classroom next door and give them a good sort of Baptist, Minnesota, please be quiet. And I go around the corner, I see you sitting in the classroom. I see you there participating as in one of the classrooms. So I double clutched. I just quietly closed the door and walked away. But I do have to say how much I appreciate being able to see you, how visible you are around campus, seeing you sit in the classrooms. Has that been your intention so far this year?
You know, I have loved it. It's one of the biggest benefits I have. And I am still new enough to this where I realize what a gift it is to see our students and see our faculty in action and to see the enjoyment of everyone being back together and seeing what happens. I am just so humbled by the chance to see that. And I love it. So I hope people don't mind. Sorry about the noise, but I'll continue to look forward to that and make it a priority. Thanks for letting me do that.
Good. So you and I have a couple things in common. We're both business graduates from Bethel. And I think some students know that, but maybe not all of them. Tell us what was like, what were you like as a college student? Tell us a little bit about what your experience was here at Bethel.
Yeah, so that was a long time ago, and it was different. Business wasn't nearly as big as it is now, and it was just getting started. So what was it like? It actually took me a while to figure out I wanted to major in business. So what was I like as a student? I don't know. I think I kind of rambled around at first until I got clarified, and part of that was my personal life. I got married while I was at Bethel. I probably shouldn't make a big deal about that to encourage anybody, but that got me very focused. And so, once I got focused, I got pretty serious about it.
That's great. And what was your major, and how did you decide what focus you were going to have?
So I had business administration with a focus on accounting, I had a professor that just described his experience and what he did and how he brought Christ into his career, and that was inspiring to me. I'm fairly competitive, and so I saw business as a way to continue that competitive spirit and really push and drive and strive for excellence. And I guess I had an aptitude for accounting and saw it as an avenue to continue to strive and pursue the best God would have for me.
Yeah, that's great. And of course, you haven't spent your entire career being an accountant, but how has having that accounting foundation sort of helped you over your career?
Yeah, so I started out in public accounting, which was a great opportunity and experience to see a variety of organizations and get fast development. I worked at one of the large firms that was Big Eight back then,
Okay.
and so in that experience, you get a lot of leadership development and training and an ability to assess and evaluate and prioritize and identify risks and challenges. And so it was a great opportunity from that standpoint, and it really built a foundation of leadership and managerial capability, as well as an ability to assess and evaluate risks and challenges. So yeah, that's been a skill set that as I've continued my career has been valuable.
That's great. I love one of the things, interesting things you said there was how you evaluate risk. I think one of the things that, at least in my classes, that we really try to teach in the finance discipline is around decision making, right? It's about evaluating risk. It's not simply understanding the tools of accounting, but how do you use accounting and finance and management in order to help make decisions and understand risk. So I really appreciate you hearing you say that. My students hear me hammering that on them all the time.
Yeah, it's critical.
Risk and decision making. Yeah. Okay, let's
and it's, I was going to say it continues through whatever role you're in and whatever decision points you got. It's assessing, evaluating, making trade-offs, and prioritizing and evaluating. It's so critical in every aspect, in every discipline.
I love hearing that. You were an athlete as well here at Bethel, is that right?
I ran cross country and track, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it shaped me in so many ways.
How did being an athlete contribute to your experience here at Bethel?
Yeah, I think whether it's whatever group you get into, one of the great things about Bethel is the community and getting in a small group where you can hold each other. And then in my case, really having upperclassmen speak into you and challenge you. We have this phrase of running for the glory of God. And it really, God used that to get my heart and say, hey, how are you going to live for me? How are you going to run for my glory? And then just the chance of being around other people that are passionate about Christ and passionate about Him. I think the other element for me was the competitiveness I mentioned before, and striving our best. And in a sport like cross country, where it's individual, in every sport, there's certain individual element, but also team element. Really developed characteristics, I think, that were fruitful as I continued my career in life.
Cool. How did athletics contribute to your, obviously competitively, you didn't turn pro, but how did your experience as an athlete help you in your career progression or in terms of leadership or development? How did that also carry into your time after Bethel, being involved in athletics?
Yeah, I think it, and again, whether it's athletics or other, I realize there's other groups and other activities, but certainly as an athlete, it challenged me to strive for my very best. And I think as a Christian, we're called to our very best and to excel and pursue and push through and recognize that you're going to bump into stuff that are going to be challenges, whether that's a hill for cross country or whether that's an injury, and fight through it, and then to rely on each other and build each other up and encourage each other and have that competitive edge and iron sharpens iron kind of perspective of how do we help each other and strive forward and do our very best.
So thinking about your 4 years at Bethel, do you have any specific pivotal experiences that really sort of stand out, either spiritually, academically? What as you reflect on that time sort of still stands out as some of those sharpest moments for you?
Yeah, so actually, I'll clarify. I actually went to Bethel for 5 years. I changed my major after my third year.
Okay.
And realized where I was headed was not where God was calling me and what I was gifted in. And so that was a big one. I actually had an adjunct business professor who helped me realize where I was at, what is it that really you're called to do? And I think, grown up with this view of, hey, you need to do a certain path. And that's the most ideal path God would have for you. And for me, it was teaching and being back in service. And I realized that's frankly not something I'm good at. Hopefully you are, and others are so gifted at that. But I also realized I had a passion for another area, and could I live that out and live for Christ in the marketplace? And I had to do frankly a theological adjustment for me. And so somebody confronting me and helping me realize, wait a minute, you don't have to do a set of things to glorify and honor God and live for Him and to make an impact. And so for me, it was having to recalibrate, what am I being called for and how do I live that out? And could I really pursue a career that's different than what I thought was the optimal career God would have for you. So that dialogue was clearly there. It really then inspired me to charge after that.
Mm-hmm.
So I changed my career after my third year. Then I had to slam 2 years in a short period of time. And so I was all in. And I think it's that pivotal point of what is God calling me to, and how am I inspired and excited about that? And so I trust students are figuring that out sooner and more effectively than I did. But it really was, I think, that figuring out where is God calling you, and then getting passionate about that was the.
Great. Being flexible once you get into Bethel and have an opportunity. One of the things I love about the liberal arts education is the exposure that we get to so many different aspects and disciplines. And so when I'm advising students, I often tell them, I know you're eager to graduate, right? I know you're going to try to get out here in 3.5 years, but be open to the fact that you might stumble across something that you find unique and interesting that sort of stirs a passion in you that maybe you didn't know you have. And I had a similar experience to that. I didn't switch business majors, but I did switch what my emphasis was, because I got further enough along in my curriculum, and a couple things really stood out to me. And that's part of the reason actually I'm here today, is because of these moments that I had. So I always encourage students to say, look, I know it's expensive to be here, but this is your one chance. This is your opportunity to learn some things, to dive into some disciplines that maybe you would not have otherwise thought of until you got here. So love to hear that story.
Yeah, I think and there are so many experiences we can get here. Our oldest daughter went to Bethel and kind of crammed it in 3.5 years, and our youngest 8 years later, I guess it would have been, was trying to decide, does she graduate early? And our oldest said, you know what, you have a limited period of time. Don't race through it. Enjoy this, experience this. And I think one of the most memorable experiences I had was outside of my major, but was with I think Professor Lorraine Idle in literature, and having a course that just opened up my mind in a different way that's so different than business. But I think to have a broader perspective on life, frankly, that gives you an appreciation for God's beauty and in ways that are different than we think. I also was convinced by an upperclassman to take Greek for half. He told me every Bethel student should take Greek for a year. I made it a half a year and realized this is tough, and it was fascinating. But it opened my eyes. Again, it would be good if all of our students took Greek, probably, but those other experiences outside of your major, the broader liberal arts, to open up your lens, to see things from a broader viewpoint, I think is not only refreshing from a life standpoint and a broader spectrum, but I think they've also helped me shape my career in a sense of, it gives you a broader lens, the ability to interact with people, the ability to see things more broadly than the technical side. And so, yeah, I'm the liberal arts as a way of opening up our lens, seeing things more holistically. Sorry, I'm on a rant here. You can cut Andrew, but
this is great.
But I've also often talked with students as as other colleagues as mentees, that when you start out, the technical side is so critical, and that decides what career you're going to get or what job you're going to get. And yet over time, that becomes less and less critical. And frankly, for the last 10 years, I probably haven't used a long time, I haven't used any technical side that I learned. But the other side that becomes more important then and fills up that is that soft skill. And you go in your career is so much affected by the soft skills and the ability to engage others, inspire others, to convince someone of a point, to look at a holistic perspective. And so both are critical, but if you only have a technical skill, frankly, it's not gonna, it'll be valuable, but it will not provide the platform for other opportunities that are really required with some of these soft skills that a liberal arts uniquely can provide.
Yeah, that's outstanding. One of the famous stories about Steve Jobs, who started Apple Computer, was that he took a calligraphy class as part of his education. And so he even audited it. And if you trace a lot of the original success of the Apple came to do with the development of unique fonts. And that came out of this sort of liberal arts experience that Steve Jobs had, that learning about calligraphy and style and design really set him apart and helped him sort of launch that business. So we can see that not just sort of as a Bethel, sort of a Bethel soft skill, but we can sort of see the evidence of that, which is one of the reasons that we consistently hear from employers how valuable Bethel students are to the workforce, because they have that broad set of experiences. They have that ability to think critically and have the soft skills as well as some of the technical aptitude as well. So we've been really proud of that. and being able to sort of share that with the world. And I think that really points to a lot of value, not just to Bethel, but to the broader liberal arts education.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Great. Okay, so did you ever think you'd be back here as Bethel as the president of university? Like,
Yeah.
did that ever cross your mind?
Never, never. In fact, yeah, no, not at all. I had enjoyed my career at, I spent 25 years with Medtronic, a great company, and a company I enjoyed and was challenged and inspired by. I had some great experiences. I got the chance to live in Europe twice and some really challenging, fun experiences. But I never in a million years dreamed of this. In fact, a year ago when I got the call about this, I pinged somebody back here at Bethel saying, "Hey, are you being funny about this thing?" And I've apologized often to the search committee that it took me so long to catch and realize that, in fact, Bethel was looking for and God was calling somebody with an untraditional background, because I'm not with a business background. I'm not the traditional higher ed president. So it's taken me a while, and I'm thrilled to be here, but I would have never dreamed. But as I look back now, it's easy to see how the experiences at at Medtronic perhaps led to Bethel. And perhaps that's what God did way back when with that business professor, is to veer me off in a path to get me back, ironically, to education.
Yeah.
Where I first started my training.
Can you share a little bit more on that? What are some experiences you had working at Medtronic, a big med tech firm, that have helped sort of shaped and sort of prepared you for working at a small liberal arts private Christian university?
Yeah, the most tangible that we talk about is I ended up for the last 20 of those 25 years working on at organizations that needed, sometimes it was M&A, so acquisitions, integrations, or they were what's often referred to as turnarounds. The theme in those was that they were an organization that needed to figure out what is our goal, what is our objective, what's our mission, what is it we uniquely have of value, and then how do we line the organization to get at that. So in a classic turnaround, and it applies to the acquisitions and integrations as well, is what is it of value? And is it, what do we have? Is it technology, or what is that capability? For Bethel, it's the mission. And is there a need for that? And clearly there's a need for that in Bethel, and that Medtronic was various technology or innovations, et cetera. And then can we do that? Can we fulfill that, that need? And can we live out that mission in our case? And so I ended up having 7 experiences, 2 in Europe, 1 in Memphis, 1 in California, and kind of split between California and Minnesota. And so 7 of those experiences where it was really helping an organization figure out, how do we need to clarify what our mission and where our objective, or how we're trying to achieve it, get the organization rallied around that, and then drive toward that. So interestingly, then I was on the board of another Christian university and had offered to come inside, and it's a fascinating God story. But I then was able to apply that same experience and capability to that university, and in only God's way, having had that experience, be prepared enough to come to a place like here. So it's helping Bethel figure out, what is this mission we have? How do we drive toward that? How do we enhance and expand the number of students that can benefit from a place like this and do it well to God's glory and our neighbors' good?
That's great. You've been here now for quite a few months, starting full time this summer. We had a couple months of school under our belt here. What are you excited about? What are you sort of seeing that gets you encouraged and excited and gets you up every morning and optimistic and ready to go?
So it's interesting you put it that way. Since you put it that way, I'm not a morning person. I need my coffee, and I'm not, as some people jump out of bed and are ready to go. I'm not a morning person, but I have often said over the last few months, I wake up and I often been getting up early to spend time in devotion and prayer, and I am excited to see what God's going to do. I think catalyzed by certainly the prayer support that I've gotten and people that are praying for Bethel and for the leadership of Bethel and for myself personally. But I think there's another inspiration, which is when I step in classes or I talk to students and hear their stories and hear what God's doing in them and hear their passion to hear them describe what they think God's calling them to do. Recently, I talked to a student who has had a passion to be a surgeon in Nigeria, and I'm thinking, humbling it is to think that somebody had that call in here. I couldn't figure it out until after my third year of college. But to hear students talk about how God is working in their life and how they're wrestling, or frankly, some students who are wrestling with, boy, I'm struggling with my faith right now. And to realize that this is a place where students can come together, and as I did in the dorm rooms or the residence halls, I guess we call it now, and debate it with each other, or hear a faculty inspire them or challenge them or come alongside them, and for them to figure out, where is God going to lead me in, and
Mm-hmm.
wonder how many lives are going to be touched by this senior class that's going to go out into the marketplace or into nonprofit or service industries or teaching or ministry, or go on to advanced degrees, and think what a privilege it is to be a part of this place, to think that God would use me. And so I keep challenging myself with, how do I get out of the way? How do I be an vessel and make sure that I don't have anything of myself hindering him from fully using and shaping me as a potter would like to shape me as clay.
That's great. What advice? I'll ask you two more questions here. What advice would you give to Bethel students who are just starting? What would you give advice to the freshmen? And then tell me, what advice would you want to give to the seniors looking to graduate in the next year?
So for freshmen, I'm not sure if you want my advice, given the fact that it took me 5 years and 3 years to decide what I want to do. But I would say, in that vein, don't rush. Enjoy this experience. And I know that's easy for me to say now as I look back. But as we were talking about before, enjoy this experience, soak it all in, take advantage of the opportunities, spend time with people, listen to people, take the opportunity to learn from somebody who's different than you, that sees the world differently than you, wrestle with that, make your faith your own. We haven't talked about that, but for me and so many students, this absorbing this faith as your own is a journey you'll have, and you've got a great place to do that, in a way to have with a variety of faculty and staff and res hall leaders and upperclassmen that can help you do that. So as a freshman, enjoy that. Don't feel so panicked about sorting out. I don't know, some advisors probably encourage me not to, but don't feel so rushed to get it all figured out. And if it takes you a year or so to figure out what your major is, again, I'm probably not the expert on that. But as seniors, I get there's anxiety. It's fun to hear some students are finding out early in their senior year what their job is going to be. Some of them wrestling with as I've talked with some alumni, that it took a while. And again, I encourage you to trust God, and yet there's this interesting balance we all have in all of our roles to rely on the Spirit, and yet we have to push into that. And that's a challenge I continue to have. How much do I do with my skills and experience, and how much do I rely on Him? But I'd say, realize that God's got you, and you obviously need to step into that. Trust your skills and capabilities. Work it though. You got to work your network. We have got a fantastic group and alumni who care about you and lean into that. Take advantage of that and enjoy those. I would finally say, the fascinating experience, and I think it takes a while to realize that people love to help you.
Yeah.
And so when you go meet with me, I've had a few students come in and talk to me about their careers, and I'd love to do that. I'm a ways away from where they're at in their career, but people love to help you along your journey. And so don't hesitate to reach out to a professor or an alum. They love to help that. And so step into that and take advantage of it. Enjoy the journey.
Great. Ross, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you being with us here this morning.
Hey, have a fun day. Hope it's a lot of fun and rewarding and great experience.
Great. Thanks. Okay. So students, hopefully heard everything he said. It was fantastic, wonderful insights, how God moved in his life and led him to here to today. Take time out today to really think carefully about your choices. Why don't you go ahead and jump into, in a few minutes here, we're going to open up our breakout rooms, and you should be able to join the ones that you're interested in. And remember, everything we have is going to be recorded. So if there are a couple things you want to look for, you don't get a chance to do it, you can come back and watch the recording later. Thank you. Awesome. Stop.